On average, I try to shoot for at least $1,000 a day, sometimes more, sometimes less. And if you let's try this again. Hi, welcome back to my channel, guys. We're gonna go over a live trade and we're gonna start with NEO. I also took Pfizer and I did AMD towards the end, which put me up over 3,000 on the day. Fully transparent. You will see all numbers, size, and trade in detail. Like I said, this channel is to help you guys stay informed and educated, and this is just my give back to you and hope that this can help at least one person see my thought process and all that good stuff. It's not always going to be about wins and how much money I've made that day, because that's not a realistic trading journey. As soon as I get a loss, you guys will be the first ones to know, as long as I can catch it on screen. It's really hard to screen record my trades live trading when obviously this is my office. So when I get a losing trade, you guys will see the breakdown of what happened there, because I do lose. I just try to make my losers way smaller than my winners, and that's how you can be successful long term. Go over NEO short first. And so with this trade, what I was looking for is puts on pops, which is a strategy I teach the group. I had a key level set, so if you guys know me and know my style, I always do pre-market prep. You plan your levels before market opens, and that's going to help you tremendously. So I had a level of 1806 set on NEO. If we popped and rejected that level, I was playing the short back to pre-market gap fill range right here between 1730 to 17, and I took puts. You can see they hit a low of 15. I want to say my average was around 20, and then I ended up selling them between 30 and 35. You guys will see exact numbers if you look at the screen. I was up over like $650 at one point. However, I don't always get the perfect exit, and sometimes I'm holding on a little bit longer to see if there's an extra leg down on the move. So my full exit on that position netted me $495. And the reason I decided to exit, as you can see, it was testing that pre-market gap range, but it just wasn't doing the big flush that it usually does, and we had already fallen so far. I was more than happy to take those profits and not be greedy on that trade, especially because it was the first trade of the day. Next up, I took Pfizer calls. So I was actually in Pfizer calls while I was doing the NEO short. I usually don't have too many positions open at once, but most of the time I can handle 2 at least, and so 3 max. And this is me trading mostly from my phone and my laptop. Again, I don't have the best cell service sometimes, so I make sure to be very careful with the amount of positions I have open and what I'm able to manage. But with Pfizer, I had another key level set of 45.45, took calls off of that level, and it worked really well. This position I actually netted way more than the NEO one, and I ended up taking calls around 25 average on cost basis with the 46 calls, and you will see that we ended up moving quite well. So with Pfizer, I was looking for a 46.10 break, which was around trend line break, and I was hoping for a 46.30 price target, and so far I was already up very nicely on these calls. So again, I'm working on not being greedy and taking what's in front of me, especially when markets are as choppy and as uncertain as they have been recently. You could have one news headline come out and it crush your entire position. So I am very quick to react nowadays, and I feel like you really need to be, especially if you're going to be day trading options. I was looking for that 46.10 break. We were approaching the 46 level, which was key, and then 46.10 was the bigger break. But markets also were stalling out a little bit at the same time. So with it being the morning time and me already being up so much, I was really ready to take profits, but I was also trying to be patient and follow my plan. And I usually have alerts set, so if I'm watching multiple stocks at the same time, I will set alerts on key breakout levels or support levels just to make sure that I'm keeping up with big moves in case they happen and I'm not looking at that chart. And that allows me to just have one screen and not have to worry about having the massive trader setup that most people do. And it actually allows me to focus way more when I'm limited on the amount of screens I have. And so PFE, we were starting to push now on that key breakout level. We were breaching 46, and we hit 46.10, which was my key breakout level, but I actually decided to go ahead and take profits because I had already reached 100% profits. And my rule of thumb is anytime I hit 100%, I automatically have the sell button ready or a stop loss ready, and anything above that, I am very quick to react the minute we get a pullback or red candle on the 1 minute. So I usually switch to the 1 minute time frame, because if you can make 100% profits in one day, in not take that, I've been there so many times where I didn't think it was enough, and that's crazy to think about nowadays. But now that I'm more humble and I've brought myself back to reality, I am very, very quick to take profits, especially when we hit 100% in one day. And I think that trade took less than an hour of market being open, because it was 10:26 when I was finishing this trade. So within an hour, getting not only NEO $495, but also almost $1,500, so I want to say it was like $1,495 that I was able to make on Pfizer and NEO. So a little under $2,000 within the first hour of open. I was perfectly happy, and then I decided to take my usual midday break, and then AMD was a trade I took later in the day. I do want to highlight, I don't usually take trades later in the afternoon if I had made that much money earlier in the day, because I don't want to give back profits and overtrade. But there was a very, very key setup. Let me see if I can get this really quick. Hold on. That was a massive fish. Not me about to bring my fishing pole out here, and that way I can shoot YouTube videos, trade, and fish at the same time. And yes, before you say some in the comments, I am very country. I grew up fishing. So anyways, back to the AMD trade, which ended up putting me over $3,000 on the day. Let's go ahead and jump into this. And I had a specific alert set that it was hitting quite a few times, and it looked like bulls were going to be able to hold that line, and if so, I was going to take calls off key support to hopefully see a few gaps filled depending on how strong we were. And the market was very, very strong. Usually AMD for me, I will go a little bit further out of the money. A lot of people ask me why I went so far out of the money with these calls. I probably went a little too far. I usually don't go more than 2 to 3 points, but I will say if you can catch AMD on a really good day, typically it could run $5 on average, and so the out of the money contracts can end up doubling very quickly. It's not recommended to do out of the money, but sometimes I will gamble and go a little bit further just to see if we can get that larger move. It didn't happen that day, but I still made really solid profits, so let's go over it. Key level that I had set was 77.90 on AMD. So far we hit it twice and we were holding support very nicely. We were back testing the trend break there, which when I saw that hold, I ended up taking calls for my first entry position, and I was playing 83 calls. We were sitting around 78, so like I said, I went a little bit too far out of the money there, which is a mistake that I'm not always perfect, I will make. And like I said, I do have a little bit of a gambling habit sometimes, so that can bite me in the you know what. But later in the day, I ended up also playing 81 calls, so it balanced out pretty well. And another thing too with AMD is it is very, very volatile. And so if you're going to play AMD, you cannot have a tight stop loss. And if you do have a tight stop loss, you will most likely get stopped out of the trade. You can see they went stop loss fishing at 77.74, hit a new low of day, and then watch what happened. We ended up ripping to the upside and taking out a few targets that I had. So I was up nicely on calls then. I want to say it wasn't anything crazy because again, I went a little bit too far out of the money with majority of my size. I would have been up probably 20 or 30% more if I would have just played in the money, but that's what I get. We actually didn't have the big break that I was looking for. We came back and tested trend again and pulled back. So I made this a bigger picture day trade because it was already an end of day play for me. So I was hoping to see it through until closer to end of day anyways. And so on that last dip is where I added the 81 calls. And I was looking for the higher support level near 78.40 to hold. We chopped around a little bit, and this always makes it really hard to screen record trades like this because some days you'll have the trade work out really, really quickly. Other days it'll chop around and take its sweet time. And of course, the day that I decided to record, it was taking forever. Usually AMD, if it makes a decision, it's going for it, but today it was still a little bit uncertain. Finally, towards the end of the day, we got a really nice move to the upside, and that was also because I was expecting further move to the upside on SPY, hence it would help my AMD call position as long as SPY kept grinding to the upside. So we finally hit my first target of 79.43, and I decided to cut most of my size towards the end here. It was trying to break trend. We were breaking a little bit there, you can see, but on that last big green candle, I decided to completely exit my position, which put me up another $1,000 on the day, $3,045 total. I did take a little lotto on SPY as well, which helped bump me up over $3,000. And that wraps it up for the 3 live trades and making over $3,000. I hope this content is helpful for you guys. If you watch any of my videos, you know my motto is slow and steady, strategies that don't stress you out and that you can do anywhere, so you're not stuck in front of the screens all day. But I do want to remind you, as always, when you look at live trades like this, regardless if you are struggling to make a little bit of money, you're losing, whatever it may be, just know that I've been doing this for over 7 years. That does not make me an expert at this. And heck, there are people who make a ton more money than me. And $3,000 though is my happy medium that I've been able to find, where I can still have freedom throughout the day, not be glued to the screens, but also can make a good amount of money because I live a simple life. I don't need Lambos and mansions and different things like that. I just want to have the least amount of stress as possible so I can stay in a good headspace to do this long term, while also having the freedom to enjoy my day and, again, not being glued to screens all day. I absolutely hated that. Yes, there were previous days where I could make $5,000, $10,000. I've done it before. Heck, I've had way bigger days than that. That is not what this channel is about. It's about freedom and being able to do something that's realistic. If you have any questions, please comment down below. If you want to follow me more on a day-to-day basis, make sure to follow me on Instagram, which is in the description box down below. And last but not least, if you're interested in joining the trading community, I still have a few spots open for my hybrid membership. You can see all the details on that, combining education and the community aspect, via my website, which is linked in the description box as well. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Share it if you think it was helpful, and I will see you next week.